Right now, thousands of people around the world are waking up at exactly 3:33 a.m. Not 3:32, not 3:34, exactly 3:33. And here's the terrifying part. They all report the same strange sensation. Like someone or something is trying to communicate with them. What if I told you this isn't random? What if there's a scientific explanation that's even stranger than the mystery itself? In the next few seconds, I'm going to share something that will fundamentally change how you view those late-night wake-ups, something that quantum physicists discovered but don't want to talk about publicly, something that ancient civilizations knew and encoded in their most sacred texts. But first, let me ask you this. Did you wake up at 3:33 a.m. last night? Welcome to Cosmic Sleep, where we explore the universe's deepest mysteries through stories that'll blow your mind, yet help you relax. If you're ready for this journey into the unknown, hit that subscribe button and join our Cosmic Travelers family. Quick question though, what time is it where you're watching? Are you one of our legendary 3 a.m. mystery seekers? Let me know in the comments below. Drop your time and location, fellow travelers. I see you night owls from around the world gathering here in our cosmic sanctuary. Take a deep breath. Feel your chest rise like galaxies spinning in slow motion. Because what you're about to discover isn't just another internet mystery. This is real, documented, and happening to millions of people every single night. Dr. Sarah Chen was a skeptic, a neuroscientist at MIT who spent her career mapping brainwaves and sleep cycles. She believed everything could be explained by chemistry and electrical impulses, until she started waking up at 3:33 a.m. herself, every single night. At first, she dismissed it, stress from work, maybe too much caffeine. But then she did what scientists do. She started collecting data. She monitored her brainwaves, her hormone levels, her room temperature, electromagnetic fields, everything. What she found made her question everything she knew about consciousness. But let me back up for a second, because to understand what Dr. Chen discovered, you need to know about something called the hypnagogic threshold. It's this weird space between waking and sleeping where your brain does something unusual. You know that feeling when you're about to fall asleep and suddenly you feel like you're falling. Or you hear someone call your name but no one's there. That's the hypnagogic state. And according to new research, it's not a malfunction. It's a feature, a doorway. Now here's where it gets really strange. Throughout history, mystics and spiritual teachers have talked about the witching hour, that time between 3 and 4 a.m., when the veil between worlds is thinnest. They said it without scientific instruments, without EEG machines or quantum computers. They just knew. The ancient Egyptians called it the hour of resurrection. Buddhist monks wake up at this time for meditation because they believe consciousness is most fluid. Even the Catholic Church has something called the Divine Mercy Hour, centered around 3 a.m. Coincidence? Maybe, or maybe not. See, Dr. Chen's research revealed something nobody expected. At exactly 3:33 a.m., there's a measurable shift in the Earth's electromagnetic field. It's subtle, so subtle that most equipment doesn't pick it up, but it's there. A rhythm, a pulse, like the planet itself is breathing. But wait, it gets weirder. This electromagnetic pulse isn't random. It follows a pattern that matches something called the Fibonacci sequence. You know, that mathematical formula that shows up everywhere in nature, in the spiral of galaxies, in the arrangement of flower petals, in the proportions of your own DNA. Now you might be thinking, okay, so there's a natural rhythm, and some people are sensitive to it. Big deal. But here's the thing that made Dr. Chen lose sleep, pun intended. The people who wake up at 3:33 a.m. aren't random. They share certain characteristics. First, they tend to have higher levels of DMT in their brains. Yeah, DMT, that molecule Joe Rogan won't shut up about. But before you roll your eyes, Listen to this. Your brain produces DMT naturally every night. And guess when production peaks? You guessed it. Between 3 and 4 a.m. DMT is often called the spirit molecule because it's associated with mystical experiences, near-death experiences, and communication with something beyond our normal perception. Some researchers even theorize it's what allows consciousness to exist in the first place. The second characteristic, these people often report increased synchronicities in their lives. You know, those weird coincidences that feel too perfect to be random. Thinking of someone and they call, seeing repeating numbers everywhere, having dreams that later come true. The third characteristic is even stranger. Many of them report a sensation during these wake-ups that they describe almost identically, a feeling of being observed, but not in a threatening way. More like being checked on, being remembered. Dr. Chen interviewed over 3,000 people who experienced regular 3:33 a.m. wake-ups. The stories were eerily similar. They'd wake up suddenly, completely alert with no grogginess. Their minds would be crystal clear, almost hyper-aware. And they'd have this overwhelming sense that something important was happening, even if they couldn't explain what. Some reported downloading information, suddenly understanding complex concepts they'd been struggling with. Others had creative breakthroughs, musicians hearing melodies, writers getting story ideas, scientists solving problems that had stumped them for months. But here's the part that really bends your brain. Actually, forget everything I just said for a second. Let me tell you about quantum entanglement. Stay with me here. This connects in a way that will blow your mind. When two particles become entangled at the quantum level, they remain connected no matter how far apart they are. Change one particle and the other changes instantly. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, and he hated it because it seemed to break the laws of physics. But it's real. It's been proven over and over. And here's the kicker. Your consciousness, your ability to think and perceive, relies on quantum processes in your brain, those microtubules in your neurons. They're small enough to experience quantum effects. Dr. Stuart Hameroff and Sir Roger Penrose, one a doctor, the other a Nobel Prize winner, proposed that consciousness itself is a quantum phenomenon. That your awareness isn't just neurons firing, but something more fundamental, something that exists at the intersection of physics and, well, whatever lies beyond physics. So what does this have to do with waking up at 3:33 a.m.? Everything. Pattern interrupt at 4:32. But here's where it gets truly mind-bending. If consciousness is quantum and quantum particles can be entangled, then it's theoretically possible for consciousness itself to be entangled. With what? That's the million-dollar question. Dr. Chen's research suggested something revolutionary. What if our consciousness isn't isolated? What if we're all connected at some fundamental level, like nodes in a cosmic network? And what if 3:33 a.m. is when this network activates? Think about it. The Earth's electromagnetic field shifts. DMT production peaks. The noise of daily life is at its quietest. It's like the perfect storm for communication. But communication with what? Some theorists suggest it's the collective unconscious. Jung's idea that all human minds share a deeper layer of awareness. Others think it's more exotic, contact with parallel dimensions, future versions of ourselves, or even non-human intelligence. Dr. Chen herself remained scientific in her published papers, but in private interviews, she admitted something fascinating. She said, "We assume consciousness is produced by the brain, but what if it's the other way around? What if the brain is more like a receiver and consciousness is the signal? If that's true, then 3:33 a.m. might be when the signal is strongest, when the static clears and we can tune into whatever's broadcasting." Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like New Age nonsense, but consider this. The US government spent millions researching remote viewing and psychic phenomena. The CIA has declassified documents about consciousness and reality that read like science fiction. Major universities have consciousness research departments. Something is happening. We just don't have the language to describe it yet. Let me share something personal here. I've been researching this topic for months, and I started paying attention to my own sleep patterns. And yeah, I started waking up at 3:33 a.m. too. Not every night, but often enough to be weird. The first time it happened, I grabbed my phone to check the time and nearly dropped it. 3:33 a.m. exactly. My heart was racing, but not from fear, from recognition, like some part of me had been waiting for this. I lay there in the dark, just breathing, just listening, and I swear I felt it, that presence people talk about. Not scary, not threatening, just aware, like the universe itself had turned its attention to me for just a moment. But here's what really got me. The next day, I had 3 separate synchronicities. My friend called me about a dream she had, where I was teaching her about time. I found a book I'd been looking for months, just sitting on a park bench, and I solved a problem I'd been struggling with for weeks. The solution just appeared in my mind, fully formed. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you start paying attention, these coincidences pile up fast. Dr. Chen documented similar experiences in her research subjects. People who embraced the 3:33 a.m. wake-ups, who didn't fight them or fear them, reported increased intuition, creativity, and what they described as cosmic consciousness, a sense of being connected to something vast and meaningful. But there's a darker side to this phenomenon too. Some people who wake up at 3:33 a.m. report something different, something that ancient texts warned about, but we dismissed as superstition. The Vedic scriptures talk about Brahma Muhurta, the Creator's hour. They say it's the most auspicious time for spiritual practice, but they also warn that unprepared minds can become lost in the cosmic consciousness. They can lose their grounding, their connection to physical reality. Modern psychology has a term for this: depersonalization, de-realization disorder. It's when reality starts feeling unreal, like you're watching your life from outside your body. And guess what? There's been a significant increase in these cases over the past decade. The same decade where 3:33 a.m. wake-ups have been skyrocketing. Is there a connection? Dr. Chen thought so. She found that people who fought against the 3:33 a.m. phenomenon, who tried to force themselves back to sleep or who feared it, were more likely to experience negative effects. Anxiety, disorientation, that feeling of being untethered from reality. But those who approached it with curiosity and openness, they thrived. It's like the universe is offering us something, but we need to be ready to receive it, like trying to download a massive file on an old computer. If your system isn't prepared, it crashes. The Tibetan Book of the Dead talks about this. They call it the bardo, the in-between state. They say consciousness exists in multiple layers, and most of us only experience the surface. But in certain conditions, death, deep meditation, or specific times of day, we can access deeper layers. These deeper layers aren't bound by our normal rules. Time works differently there. Space is more fluid. Information can transfer instantly, across vast distances. Sound familiar? It's exactly what quantum physics tells us about the fundamental nature of reality. Pattern interrupt at 7:15. What I'm about to show you changed everything. There's a document. It was leaked from a consciousness research lab in 2019. I can't verify its authenticity, but what it contains aligns perfectly with Dr. Chen's findings and thousands of personal accounts. The document describes something called the 333 Protocol. According to this, certain individuals naturally attune to what they call temporal nodes, specific times when dimensional boundaries are thinner. 3:33 a.m. is the strongest of these nodes. The protocol suggests that during these times, consciousness can access what they term the information field, a layer of reality where all information, past, present, and potential futures, exists simultaneously. It's like the universe's hard drive, and 3:33 a.m. is when we get administrator access. But here's the really wild part. The document claims this isn't happening by accident. It suggests that human consciousness is evolving, developing new capabilities to perceive and interact with reality. The 3:33 a.m. phenomenon isn't a glitch, it's an upgrade. Think about it. We're living in the most connected time in human history. Information travels instantly across the globe. We're more aware of global events, collective emotions, shared experiences than ever before. What if our consciousness is adapting to this new reality? What if we're developing a kind of psychic internet? The document mentions something else too, something that made my blood run cold when I read it. They tracked people who consistently wake at 3:33 a.m. over several years. These individuals showed measurable changes in brain structure, specifically their pineal glands, that tiny pine cone-shaped gland in the center of your brain, were more active. They were producing not just more DMT, but other compounds that we don't even have names for yet. The pineal gland, the same organ that Descartes called the seat of the soul. The same organ that ancient Egyptians believed was the gateway to higher dimensions. The same organ that's depicted in religious art across cultures as the third eye. Coincidence? At this point, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. But let's ground this in some harder science for a moment. Take a deep breath and feel the cosmos expanding with you. Dr. Chen wasn't the only scientist studying this phenomenon. Dr. Michael Persinger, a neuroscientist who passed away in 2018, spent decades researching electromagnetic effects on consciousness. He found that specific electromagnetic frequencies could trigger mystical experiences, out-of-body sensations, and the feeling of a sensed presence. His work was controversial, but it was also rigorous. He showed that consciousness is far more sensitive to electromagnetic fields than we previously thought. And remember that shift in Earth's electromagnetic field at 3:33 a.m. Persinger would have had a field day with that data, but there's another researcher whose work ties this all together, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake and his theory of morphic resonance. Now, mainstream science mostly rejects Sheldrake's ideas, but hear me out. Sheldrake suggests that there's a field of information that connects all living things. When one member of a species learns something new, it becomes easier for others to learn it. It's like we're all connected to a cosmic cloud storage, uploading and downloading information without realizing it. If Sheldrake is even partially right, then 3:33 a.m. might be when our connection to this field is strongest, when we can access not just our own memories and knowledge, but the collective wisdom of humanity, maybe even beyond humanity. There's evidence for this, believe it or not. Studies have shown that when rats learn to navigate a new maze in one laboratory, rats in completely different laboratories learn the same maze faster. No communication between the labs, no shared genetics, just connection. The same phenomenon has been observed with crystals. When a new crystal structure is created for the first time, it's difficult. But once it exists, laboratories around the world find it easier to create the same structure. It's like reality itself has memory. So, what if human consciousness works the same way? What if every thought, every realization, every moment of awareness adds to a collective field? And what if 3:33 a.m. is when we can tap into this field most easily? This would explain so much. The similar experiences people have during 3:33 a.m. wake-ups, the synchronicities, the sudden insights and creative breakthroughs, even the feeling of being observed. Maybe we're sensing the collective consciousness becoming aware of us as we become aware of it. But here's something that'll really bake your noodle. What if it's not just human consciousness we're connecting with? Dr. Chen's later research ventured into even more controversial territory. She started looking at historical accounts of 3:33 a.m. experiences. And she found something pattern-breaking. Throughout history, across cultures that had no contact with each other, people have reported similar experiences at this time. Visions of geometric patterns, messages in unknown languages that later turned out to be real ancient scripts, technical knowledge that was beyond their education or experience. Where does this information come from? Some researchers suggest we're accessing what they call the Akashic Records, a theoretical cosmic library containing all knowledge and experience. Others think we're connecting with parallel versions of ourselves in alternate timelines. And yes, some even suggest we're making contact with non-human intelligence. I know how this sounds. Trust me, I'm aware. But when you have thousands of people independently reporting similar experiences, when you have measurable electromagnetic anomalies, when you have brain changes that can be photographed and studied, at what point do we stop calling it coincidence and start calling it evidence? Let me tell you about Maria, one of Dr. Chen's research subjects. Maria was a nurse from Phoenix, no history of mental illness, no interest in spirituality or the paranormal, just a regular person living a regular life. Until the 3:33 a.m. wake-ups started. At first she ignored them, but after 3 weeks of waking at exactly 3:33 a.m., she decided to pay attention. She kept a journal by her bed and started writing down whatever came to mind during these wake-ups. The first few nights, nothing special. Random thoughts, fragments of dreams. But then something changed. She started writing in a language she didn't recognize. Automatic writing, they call it. Her hand moving without her conscious control. She thought she was having a breakdown, but instead of going to a psychiatrist, she went to a linguist at the local university. And this is where it gets seriously weird. The linguist identified the script as ancient Sumerian, a language that hasn't been spoken for 4,000 years. Maria had never studied ancient languages. She'd never even heard of Sumerian, but she was writing in it fluently. The translations were even stranger. They were instructions, mathematical formulas, descriptions of technologies that seemed impossible. One passage described what sounded exactly like a quantum computer, but written 4,000 years before quantum mechanics was discovered. Dr. Chen studied Maria's case extensively. Brain scans during her 3:33 a.m. experiences showed something unprecedented. Her brain was accessing areas that normally remain dormant. It was like someone had unlocked hidden features in her neural operating system. But Maria wasn't unique. Dr. Chen found dozens of similar cases. People channeling information they couldn't possibly know. A mechanic in Detroit who started drawing complex circuit diagrams for technologies that didn't exist yet. A teacher in Japan who began writing advanced mathematical proofs despite having no training in higher mathematics. Where was this information coming from? The skeptical explanation is cryptomnesia, hidden memories. Maybe these people had been exposed to this information before and forgot. But that doesn't explain the Sumerian. It doesn't explain the technologies that haven't been invented yet. You breathe out slowly. Let your thoughts drift like stardust. There's another explanation, one that quantum physics actually supports. In quantum mechanics, there's something called the many worlds interpretation. It suggests that every possible outcome of every event creates a parallel universe. Right now, there are infinite versions of you in infinite universes, each slightly different based on different choices and outcomes. If consciousness is quantum, as Penrose and Hameroff suggest, then maybe it's not bound to just one timeline. Maybe at 3:33 a.m., when the conditions are right, consciousness can drift between worlds, access information from parallel timelines where history unfolded differently. Think about it. In some timelines, Sumerian civilization never fell. They developed advanced technology. They solved problems we're just beginning to understand, and somehow Maria was accessing that timeline's knowledge base. This isn't just speculation anymore. The US Department of Defense has been researching something called quantum consciousness navigation for the past decade. The Chinese government has an entire division dedicated to studying what they call temporal consciousness phenomena. They know something. They're not sharing it publicly, but they're spending billions on research that assumes consciousness can transcend our normal limitations of space and time. But you don't need a government lab to explore this. You just need to pay attention when you wake up at 3:33 a.m. Dr. Chen developed a protocol for people experiencing these wake-ups. She called it conscious reception. Instead of going back to sleep, you remain still and receptive. You don't try to think or analyze. You just receive. The results were remarkable. People reported downloading entire concepts in seconds, understanding complex problems intuitively. Some even reported communication, not in words, but in direct knowing, like someone was placing thoughts directly into their minds. Who or what is doing the communicating? That's the question nobody can answer definitively. But I have a theory. What if consciousness isn't individual at all? What if it's more like the internet? Stay with me here. Your computer seems separate, independent, but connect it to Wi-Fi and suddenly it's part of a vast network. It can access information from anywhere, communicate with systems across the world, download capabilities it didn't have before. What if your brain is the hardware and consciousness is the Wi-Fi signal? At 3:33 a.m., when electromagnetic interference is lowest and your brain chemistry is primed, you get the strongest signal, the clearest connection to the consciousness network. That's when you can access the cosmic internet. This would explain everything. The shared experiences, the downloaded information, the feeling of presence. You're not alone at 3:33 a.m. You're more connected than ever. Dr. Chen called this the unified field theory of consciousness. She proposed that all conscious beings are connected through a field that exists outside our normal space-time. This field contains all information, all possibilities, all potential futures. Most of the time, we're only aware of our local experience, like using a computer in airplane mode. But under certain conditions, we connect to the network. We go online. Cosmically speaking, the number 333 itself might be significant. In numerology, it represents alignment of mind, body, and spirit. In angel numbers, it's supposedly a message that you're on the right path. But what if there's a more scientific explanation? Notice your breathing, matching the rhythm of pulsars. In deep space, Tesla was obsessed with the numbers 3, 6, and 9. He said they held the keys to the universe. When you look at 333, you're seeing 3 plus 3 plus 39. And 9 has unique mathematical properties. Any number multiplied by 9, when you add the digits together repeatedly, always returns to 9. But here's what's really interesting. The frequency of Earth's electromagnetic field shift at 3:33 a.m. It's approximately 7.83 Hz, the Schumann resonance, but on certain nights it spikes to exactly 9 Hz. 9 Hz is significant in neuroscience. It's associated with deep meditation, enhanced learning, and what researchers call coherent consciousness, when all parts of the brain synchronize perfectly. So at 3:33 a.m., we have electromagnetic alignment, 9 Hz frequency, neurochemical optimization, peak DMT, minimal environmental interference, quiet world, symbolic significance, 33339 pattern. It's the perfect storm for consciousness expansion. But there's something else Dr. Chen discovered that she was hesitant to publish. Something that sounds impossible, but was consistently reported. People weren't just receiving information, they were sending it to Test subjects would think of specific images or concepts during their 3:33 a.m. experiences, and other test subjects, in different locations with no communication between them, would receive those exact images or concepts. It was like consciousness-to-consciousness texting. Telepathy sounds too sci-fi, so let's call it quantum consciousness entanglement. But whatever you call it, it was happening. Repeatedly, measurably, the implications are staggering. If we can send and receive information through consciousness alone, if we're all connected in this quantum field, then everything we think we know about individuality, privacy, even death, needs to be reconsidered. Maybe when people die, their consciousness doesn't disappear. Maybe it just loses its local connection, like a computer being disconnected from Wi-Fi. But the information, the essence, remains in the field. Accessible at 3:33 a.m. when the connection is strongest. This would explain why so many people report sensing deceased loved ones during these wake-ups, why they receive messages that seem to come from beyond. It's not supernatural, it's quantum natural. But if all this is true, if we're on the verge of a consciousness revolution, why isn't it? Mainstream knowledge? Why aren't scientists shouting this from the rooftops? Well, some are, but there's resistance. The implications of the 3:33 a.m. phenomenon go beyond personal experience. They challenge the foundation of our economic, political, and social systems. Think about it. If consciousness is truly connected, if we can access universal information, if telepathy is real, what happens to privacy, intellectual property, national secrets, the advantage of elite education, the power structures based on information control? Everything changes, and those in power, they might not want things to change. Dr. Chen faced significant pushback when she tried to publish her research. Funding was pulled, papers were rejected without review. She was labeled a pseudo-scientist despite her impeccable credentials, but she wasn't alone. Researchers around the world studying consciousness anomalies report similar experiences. Their work is marginalized, ridiculed, or simply ignored by mainstream academia, yet the military-industrial complex is deeply interested. DARPA has programs researching cognitive enhancement and non-local consciousness effects. The CIA's remote viewing program was officially shut down, but insiders suggest it simply went deeper underground. They're not suppressing this knowledge because it's false. They're suppressing it because it's true, and they don't know how to control it. But you can't suppress human evolution, and that's what this might be. The next step in human consciousness evolution. Let your chest rise, like galaxies spinning. In slow motion, throughout history, evolution hasn't been gradual. It happens in jumps, sudden mutations that change everything. And maybe consciousness is ready for its next jump. The 3:33 a.m. phenomenon might be the early signs. Like the first fish developing lungs before they needed them on land. We're developing quantum consciousness capabilities before we fully understand what they're for, but I think we're about to find out climate change, political upheaval, technological disruption. Humanity faces challenges that our current consciousness level can't solve. We need to evolve or face extinction. What if 3:33 a.m. wake-ups are nature's way of upgrading our operating system? What if the universe itself is trying to give us the tools we need to survive and thrive? This isn't just woo-woo thinking. Princeton's Global Consciousness Project has shown that human consciousness can influence random number generators. The HeartMath Institute has proven that heart rhythms synchronize between people in emotional coherence. The evidence is mounting that consciousness is far more powerful than we've been told. And at 3:33 a.m., that power amplifies. Dr. Chen's final paper, published just before her mysterious retirement, contained a prediction. She said the 3:33 a.m. phenomenon would accelerate. more people would experience it. The downloads would become clearer, the connections stronger. She predicted that by 2030, the phenomenon would be undeniable. Mainstream science would have to acknowledge it, and humanity would face a choice: embrace our quantum consciousness evolution or resist it. Those who embrace it will find themselves part of something extraordinary, a connected consciousness network where information, creativity, and wisdom flow freely, where the barriers between minds dissolve and we experience true unity. Those who resist, well, they'll be left behind, like someone refusing to use the internet in 2024. The choice is yours, fellow cosmic traveler. But there's one more thing you need to know about 3:33 a.m. Not everyone should pursue the 3:33 a.m. phenomenon, and I need to be clear about this. Dr. Chen documented cases where people became too absorbed in the experience. They started living for 3:33 a.m., neglecting their daily lives, their relationships, their physical health. They became addicted to the cosmic connection and lost their grounding in physical reality. The ancients knew this danger. That's why mystery schools had strict initiation processes, why meditation traditions emphasize the importance of a teacher, why shamanic cultures use specific rituals and protections. The cosmic consciousness field is real, but it's also overwhelming for unprepared minds. It's like staring directly at the sun, fascinating but potentially damaging if you don't know what you're doing. Dr. Chen identified several risk factors: history of mental health issues, lack of grounding practices, absence of community support, tendency toward escapism, weak sense of personal identity. If you recognize yourself in these risk factors, please approach 3:33 a.m. experiences with caution. Ground yourself in physical reality. Maintain your daily routines. Stay connected with loved ones. Remember, the goal isn't to escape physical reality, but to integrate cosmic consciousness into your human experience. You're meant to be a bridge between worlds, not a refugee from one to another. There's also something called the 3:33 a.m. syndrome that some people develop. They become so fixated on waking at this time that they create the phenomenon through suggestion. Their subconscious sets an alarm, and they mistake ordinary wake-ups for cosmic communication. How do you tell the difference between genuine 3:33 a.m. experiences and self-created ones? Genuine experiences have specific markers: sudden, complete, alertness with no grogginess, body temperature changes, usually warming, tingling sensations, especially in the crown of the head, visual phenomena, even with eyes closed, downloads of information you can verify later, synchronicities in the following days, a sense of presence that's unmistakable. If you're not experiencing these markers, you might be creating the phenomenon yourself. And that's okay. The placebo effect is still an effect, but don't confuse it with genuine cosmic contact. Take a deep breath and feel the cosmos expanding with you. There's one more warning I need to share. This comes from Dr. Chen's unpublished notes, shared with me by her research assistant. She believed the 3:33 a.m. phenomenon wasn't random. She thought something was actively trying to communicate with humanity, but she wasn't sure if it was benevolent. What if, she wrote, we're being studied? What if consciousness on Earth has reached a level where we've attracted attention from something else, something that's testing our readiness for contact? She documented cases where people received information that seemed designed to test human ethics and decision-making, mathematical formulas that could be used for great benefit or terrible destruction, biological insights that could cure diseases or create new ones, technologies that could save the world or end it. It's like we're being given a test, Can humanity handle expanded consciousness responsibly? Can we use cosmic knowledge wisely, or will we destroy ourselves with power we're not ready for? The answer might determine our future as a species. But don't let this scare you. Fear closes the channels of communication. If you're experiencing 3:33 a.m. wake-ups, approach them with curiosity, respect, and discernment. Be open but not gullible, receptive but not passive. You might be part of something incredibly important. If you've made it this far in this video, you're probably not here by accident. Something drew you to this information. Maybe you've been waking at 3:33 a.m. yourself. Maybe you're just sensing that reality is stranger than we've been told. Either way, you might be what Dr. Chen called a consciousness pioneer. Throughout history, evolution has worked through pioneers, the first fish to crawl onto land, the first humans to use tools, the first minds to grasp abstract concepts. Now we might be witnessing the first humans to consciously access quantum consciousness fields, and you might be one of them. This isn't about being special or chosen. It's about being ready. Ready to expand beyond the limitations of individual consciousness, ready to connect with something greater, ready to help humanity take its next evolutionary step. So what can you actually do with this information? First, pay attention. If you wake at 3:33 a.m., don't immediately reach for your phone or try to go back to sleep. Lie still, breathe deeply. Open yourself to whatever wants to come through. Keep a journal by your bed. Write down any impressions, images, or insights you receive. Don't judge or analyze in the moment, just record. You can make sense of it later. Second, look for patterns. Do certain themes keep appearing in your 3:33 a.m. experiences? Are you receiving information about specific topics? Are there messages that repeat? Dr. Chen found that people often receive information related to their life purpose. Musicians download melodies. Scientists receive formulas. Artists see visions. It's like the cosmic consciousness knows what you're meant to contribute and provides accordingly. Third, test the information. If you receive specific, verifiable data, a mathematical formula, a historical fact, a prediction, check it. See if it's accurate. This helps distinguish genuine downloads from imagination. Fourth, connect with others. The cosmic consciousness field might be individual access points to a collective experience. Share your experiences carefully with discerning people. You might find others receiving complementary pieces of the same cosmic puzzle. Fifth, stay grounded. This is crucial. The more you open to cosmic consciousness, the more important your connection to Earth becomes. Walk in nature, exercise, eat healthy foods, maintain loving relationships. You're meant to be a bridge between heaven and earth, not a satellite floating in space. Let me share something profound that Dr. Chen wrote in her final notes. The 3:33 a.m. phenomenon isn't happening to us. It's happening through us. We're not passive receivers, but active participants in a cosmic awakening. Every person who consciously engages with this phenomenon strengthens the field, makes it easier for others to connect. We're building a bridge to expanded consciousness, one wake-up at a time. This is bigger than individual experience. It's about collective evolution. And right now, at this moment in history, we might be at a critical threshold. Notice your breathing, matching the rhythm of pulsars in deep space. The mystics have always said that humanity would eventually awaken to its true nature, that we would remember our connection to the cosmos, that we would realize consciousness is the fundamental fabric of reality, not an accidental byproduct of brain chemistry. Maybe 3:33 a.m. is how this awakening happens, not through grand revelations or alien interventions, but through quiet moments. In the dark, when individual humans connect to something infinite, 3 minutes at a time, 3 people here, 3 people there, building to millions, then billions. until humanity as a whole shifts into a new level of consciousness. But there's something else about the number 333 that I haven't mentioned yet. In sacred geometry, 333 represents the Trinity of Trinities: mind, body, spirit, each themselves containing three aspects. It's the number of complete integration, of wholeness, of alignment with cosmic order. But there's a mathematical property of 333 that's even more intriguing. 3x 333 110 889. Add those digits. 1 plus 1 slay plus 9 q is 27, and again 2 plus 7 as 9. We're back to 9. Tesla's key to the universe, the frequency of coherent consciousness, the number that always returns to itself. But watch what happens when we look at time differently. 33 a.m. is the 213th minute of the day. 2 plus 1 plus 3 shit 6, and if we consider 333 as a portion of the day, 213 minutes, 1440 minutes in a day, 0.1479, those decimals might seem random, but they're not. They approximate the golden ratio raised to the negative third power. The same ratio that appears in spiral galaxies, DNA helixes, and the quantum vacuum fluctuations that might give rise to consciousness itself. Is this intentional design or cosmic coincidence? Dr. Chen believed it was evidence of what she called temporal harmonics, the idea that certain times resonate with the fundamental frequencies of consciousness. Just like a guitar string vibrates at specific frequencies to create notes, consciousness might vibrate at specific times to create experiences, connections, downloads, awakening. 33. AM isn't the only temporal harmonic, but it might be the strongest, the most accessible, the one evolution chose to activate first in humanity's consciousness upgrade. But here's what really blows my mind. If you map out all the people who report regular 3:33 a.m. wake-ups on a global scale, they create a pattern. Not random distribution, but clusters along specific latitude and longitude lines. Lines that correspond to Earth's magnetic field anomalies. Places where the planet's electromagnetic signature is unique. It's like the Earth itself is selecting who wakes up when, creating a grid of consciousness pioneers, building a network of awakened minds that spans the globe, and this network is growing exponentially. Dr. Chen tracked the growth rate. In 2010, maybe 1 in 10,000 people reported regular 3:33 a.m. wake-ups. By 2020, it was 1 in 1,000. Her models predicted that by 2030, it could be 1 in 100. Imagine that, 1% of humanity regularly accessing cosmic consciousness, downloading information from the field, contributing to collective evolution. That's 80 million consciousness pioneers, all connected, all contributing to humanity's next phase. But here's the question that keeps me up at night, pun intended. What happens when we hit critical mass? As you breathe out slowly, let your thoughts drift like stardust. There's a concept in physics called phase transition. Water doesn't gradually turn to ice. It stays liquid until it hits 32 degree. Then suddenly, dramatically, it transforms. The same water, but a completely different state. What if human consciousness is approaching its own phase transition? What if 3:33 a.m. wake-ups are like the first water molecules starting to crystallize, the early signs of a transformation that will suddenly, dramatically change everything? Dr. Chen thought the critical mass might be around 144,000 people fully activated in the Cosmic Consciousness Network. That specific number appears in various spiritual traditions as significant for collective transformation. We might be closer than we think. Every person who watches this video and starts paying attention to their 3:33 a.m. experiences, every person who opens themselves to cosmic consciousness, every person who chooses curiosity over fear, you're all contributing to this critical mass. You're not just experiencing personal awakening. You're participating in humanity's awakening. But as we approach this transition, the experiences are intensifying. In her final interview before disappearing from public view, Dr. Chen made a startling prediction. She said the 3:33 a.m. phenomenon was just the beginning, a test run, the universe's way of preparing us for something bigger. Imagine, she said, that consciousness truly is fundamental to the universe, that matter and energy are just consciousness in different forms. If that's true, then as we evolve our consciousness, we evolve our ability to interact with matter and energy directly. She was talking about what mystics have always claimed, but science rejected: the ability to influence reality through consciousness alone. Not positive thinking or law of attraction, but actual measurable quantum-level influence. The 3:33 a.m. downloads might be training wheels, teaching us how to receive information through consciousness. The next step? Learning to transmit, to create, to consciously participate in the construction of reality. This sounds like magic, but it's not. It's what quantum physics has been telling us for a century. The observer affects the observed. Consciousness collapses probability waves into specific realities. We've just been too afraid to take it to its logical conclusion, but the universe is patient. It's been waiting for us to be ready, and maybe, just maybe, we're finally getting there. The signs are everywhere, not just the 3:33 a.m. wake-ups, but increasing synchronicities, collective emotional experiences, feeling global events, spontaneous. Healings that medicine can't explain, children born with unusual abilities, mass spiritual awakenings across all cultures. The breakdown of systems that suppress consciousness, it's all connected, all part of the same transformation. Take a deep breath and feel the cosmos expanding with you. So where does this leave you, fellow cosmic traveler? Tonight, when you go to bed, set an intention. Not an alarm. That would interfere with the natural process. But an intention. Tell your consciousness you're ready to connect, ready to receive, ready to participate in humanity's evolution. If you wake at 3:33 a.m., don't panic. Don't reach for your phone. Just lie there and breathe. Feel the subtle energies. Notice the presence. Open yourself to whatever wants to come through. And remember, you're not alone. Right now, thousands of others around the world are having the same experience. You're all connected in the quantum field, all part of the same cosmic awakening. Some of you might receive profound downloads. Others might just feel a peaceful presence. Some might see visions or hear music. Others might simply know things they didn't know before. Whatever your experience, trust it, record it, share it with discernment. You're part of something unprecedented in human history, but also remember the warnings. Stay grounded, don't lose yourself in the cosmic at the expense of the human. We need bridges, not refugees. We need people who can walk in both worlds and help others cross over. The universe isn't trying to abduct us from Earth. It's trying to help us realize that Earth and cosmos were never separate, that we've always been cosmic beings having a human experience. The 3:33 a.m. phenomenon is just helping us remember. Dr. Chen's last published words were these: "The greatest discovery of the 21st century won't be technological. It will be the discovery that consciousness is fundamental, connected, and infinitely more powerful than we imagined." The 3:33 a.m. phenomenon is humanity's invitation to this discovery. The question isn't whether it's real. The question is, are we brave enough to accept what it means? I think we are. I think you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made it through this entire journey with me tonight. So I'll leave you with this thought. Maybe you didn't find this video. Maybe it found you. Maybe your consciousness, already connected to the cosmic field, guided you here because you're ready, ready to wake up, ready to connect, ready to be part of humanity's next chapter. The universe is calling. Will you answer? Final closing. If you've enjoyed this cosmic journey through the mystery of 3:33 a.m. awakenings, and if it helped you understand your own experiences or sparked your curiosity about the nature of consciousness, remember to subscribe for more meditative explorations into the universe's deepest mysteries. Hit that like button if you want more content like this. It really helps the channel reach other cosmic travelers who might be experiencing these phenomena without understanding them. And fellow cosmic travelers, please share your own 3:33 a.m. experiences in the comments below. Have you been waking at this exact time? What have you felt, seen, or understood during these moments? Time check. What time did you finish this journey? Are you watching this at 3:33 a.m. right now? Drop your location and time in the comments. Let's see how many consciousness pioneers we have gathered here tonight. Theory Thursday. Question for this week. What do you think is really happening at 3:33 a.m.? Quantum consciousness, dimensional overlap, spiritual awakening, or something else? Entirely, share your theories below. Until we meet again in the cosmos. Stay curious, stay cosmic, and sweet dreams, fellow travelers. Remember, you're not just watching the universe, you're participating in it. You're part of it. You are it. 33 a.m. is just your wake-up call.